Majestic ones, we are here once again with another Majestic Musings. Of course, you know, I'm Tombstone the Dead Man and my
I am
esteemed
Graydon
partner.
Square.
Exactly. There's a lot of things that we want to kind of talk to you guys about, but we're going to cram it in, get it in. First of all, we want to thank all of you for your support. We got a bunch of new patron members. Shout out to you guys.
We
Shout
are at
out to the ones
198.
198. With two from getting that 200. I think we got something special we're gonna drop for them when we get that 200 too.
Yeah, we've been working on some. I'm pretty excited about it. I was listening to that actually all night almost last night. Just on repeat because I'm just excited about what that beat is crazy. That beat, I found on Instagram. And
crazy.
That beat's been going around and a lot of people have been feeling. So I'm glad that we have an opportunity to destroy.
Absolutely. What's crazy about it, I wrote two things, one and a half things to it. I wrote one thing to it and I went, this is cool, but I don't think it's not married to what you're saying. So I went, scrapped that, and started writing on the other one. So it's gonna be good, bro. It's gonna be good. It's going to be good.
I'm with that.
Just a few things I wanted to kind of cover how excited I was. You guys saw it about the actual the sample version of the comic book.
Yes.
Because even though it's not the to the specs that we wanted as far as size, it looked exactly like I imagined it to look, that it was going to look. Exactly.
Yeah, I was really excited about the quality. When we started talking about merch and we started talking about physicalizing this thing and making sure that we had an opportunity to give something tangible, right? Because we all knew digitally it's going to be available, and digitally we're going to make it available, and we're working on the website and we're working on the app and all that type of stuff, and that's great. But we still wanted something that was physical, and we still wanted something that was tangible that people can actually hold in their hands.
Absolutely.
And you're right, it wasn't to the size specs that we were looking for, but we also didn't really know what we were looking for. We just wanted to see what it felt like physically, So I think that was the issue with that. But all in all, we were really excited when we got that sampler back.
Yeah, it feels great. It looks great. Again, my first experience with comic books was not in the digital realm. My first experience with comic books was in the physical analog stuff. So for me, it being physicalized like that, the story being physicalized, that made it canon to me. This is canon now, right? And it just made it like super real. And it further, it made me enthused about the whole process that we're doing now, and the fact that there's going to come a day where we're going to have multiple of these, multiple issues of these that I'm going to be able to just pull up and talk. Look at this. See, this is issue 1. Oh yeah, here in issue 5, something. It's going to be that. The same thing I used to do with the comic books I grew up reading.
Very exciting. I think the thing that I was most excited about, even when I saw it, was just the quality of that paper. And it felt like this was finally the realization of 7 years. And I know we're towards the end and we haven't released a date and all that type of stuff, but man, to see that physically, to actually see that, oh man, that was a dream come true. That was absolutely a dream come true.
And it's amazing to hear a lot of the Majestic ones talk about which characters are going to be their favorite and stuff like that. Like, I think that's just fire, because again, my experience with comic books, that's what we did all the time. We had our favorite characters. We discussed their personality traits, any fights, feats, events that took place, their history, all of this other stuff. It's exciting to me that characters that we created are going to be discussed in that same vein. That's fire. But with everything else, with every other type of business, there's always legal concerns.
Oh yeah. We should probably talk about that.
Yeah. So there are a few things. We had to make sure, one, that we could protect our IP. That's important because we live in a pirate world. You know what I'm saying? It may not be Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's pirates out here, and they will take your idea, and if you don't protect it, they will rob you blind of it, or take some key aspect of it. You know,
and what's crazy about that is you can protect your shit today and still you can protect your IP today and still get it stolen. I mean, it's pretty nuts about kind of how Wild West art is right now. And
very much so.
I never thought that I would see it like it was music, but art is becoming a lot like music. Digital art is becoming a lot like music, where you know, you got people who are Napster and LimeWiring and, you know, kind of basically stealing and selling on the open black market of NFTs and stuff like that. Like,
absolutely,
that stuff is really going down now. So we got to protect our stuff the best way we can protect it.
We at least need recourse if someone does it. If someone steals something from us and we find it in some other, because that's actually almost happened before, years and years ago, as part of the comic book group that I have, the Reaper Life comic book group. There was other people that were quote unquote creating comic books and characters, and it was somebody who I thought I could trust with this, and because he's a friend of my nephew. And I found out later, thanks to SBJ just wanted to let me know, he presented us a story and he had some of your characters in it. And when I approached him about it, he said, "Oh no, I'm just borrowing them for this and that." No. You're not borrowing shit. You need to come and talk to us first about that. Because listen, one of the key aspects of our story is we have embedded within it the ability for our characters to cross into other universes.
Right.
That's a thing. And we think that's very interesting. It's a great way to expose the readership to different characters, different universes, because hey, you can be a fan of more than just one comic, right? So that was always embedded in our idea, but there has to be some talks, some permissions given, some understandings, because you're not just going to write my character, any of my characters, to say some shit or react in a way or behave in a way that we don't greenlight.
Right.
That's crazy. We know that stuff happens. So because we know that, we need at least to be able to have some sort of recourse if someone does it. I can at least haul your ass in the court, right? I can at least put a cease and desist on your ass and then haul you in court. But without any of that stuff, you're really naked like a baby out in the wild, for real. Like your idea is just out there.
And if you really want to push the line, if you're really trying to get your stuff out there and trying to create something that's sustainable, you got to have that level of protection.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't start off like that, right? Like we're going to kind of go all the way back to the beginning of even what you even do when you want to start something like this. But all in all, when you do start something like this, you want to protect it best you can. And so that's what we did legally initially.
And now that we're in that position, now that we're in the position to be able to do it, there's cost and all of that that comes with that, and a cost we're willing to pay. That's another reason why we always thank you guys, because previously, before we were actually generating any sort of support or money for this, that looked like a huge hill to climb. But now it was totally doable because of the support of you guys. The other thing about that is coming up, there's the business, the other business side of it, where you have to decide what sort of business do you want it to be. And there's many different types of business that people use depending on their particular circumstances. You just got to pick one that does the best it can do to protect the company and to protect your private assets. And for us, that would be an LLC. That's another expense. It's all part of the startup of the infrastructure of the company. You know, so these are things that we are currently doing or in process of being done or have done already. Right? These are the things. That's what we do.
So in the very beginning, what I did was I registered the company with the Secretary of State of Arizona. That was the first thing I did.
Yep.
And, you know, I made it so that from the very beginning, all three of the owners were on the paperwork of this from the very beginning.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
because I didn't want any discrepancy of people thinking like, oh, this is a Grade and Square company, and he's, you
right.
know, no. This was a creation of 3 people together.
Right.
We all came together and we decided, okay, we're going to do this. And so I wanted the history to show that in the paperwork. And
right.
So when we got the paperwork from the Secretary of State office in Arizona, I made sure, you know, your name was on there, Structure's name was on there, and my name was on there.
Yep.
As the company founders. So no matter what we created the company as, whether it was a sole proprietorship initially, and then we changed it to an LLC, or we just started it as an LLC, or we incorporated, either way, doesn't matter.
Right. Right.
All 3 of us were in the initial building block foundational paperwork of the company. And that's the way we wanted it. Because there's nobody being added to that paperwork, by the way.
No, no, not at all. It's funny because like when I think back to, like, I have actually owned a couple of businesses before this one. This is different though. And when I see there are other publishing companies out here of various different sizes, large, medium, small, whatever, I see them, I notice that they're adding a lot of things into their business mix. So the other day I was looking at this one company called Apex Comics, something like that, publishing. And not only were they publishing other people's stories and stuff like that, but they had themselves being a one-stop shop where they would help the creator with their logos and just all these little and I always thought to myself, when I saw that, I went, nah, to me, and this is just me, when you start out and say that you want to go further with your idea, you need to be putting in the work yourself and not, to me, go to some one-stop shop where they're doing everything for you, because it doesn't even feel like yours for real. It's like,
right. I was just going to say yours. That, you know, this is one thing I love about the Majestic ones and Grand Unified by extension, is that you've said this a lot. We didn't start from zero.
Right.
And it shows whenever you have a new idea and you want to quote unquote sell it to somebody, you're able to say, oh, that's right, you enjoyed my music all these years, or you enjoyed, you know, Tombstone's music all this year. What's up, Struck?
Big Struck.
And so it's like you kind of have, hold on, make sure you have me in headphones because it's going to feedback.
Yeah, we get the feedback.
Yeah. So you kind of have a situation where if you kind of identify it early as this is the way you want to build a company, or you want to start a company, and you're transparent, I feel like that's the best way to go.
Absolutely.
Especially if people can see what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're spending the money, like all that stuff.
It's important. It's important because for the most part, like, there's different ways that I've seen that people have got the funds up for them to be able to start the company and release issues and stuff. But for the most part, this is still a crowd-funded project. The startup is crowd-funded. Some people might use a Kickstarter or Indiegogo or something like that. We went with Patreon. But whatever the case is, it's still crowdfunding, and people they have faith in the vision, right, and what we're trying to do. So it's important to have some sort of transparency to let them know this is what we're doing, step by step by step. And that's why that roadmap you were talking about before is important.
Yep. Yeah, I'm still working on that, by the way. Big Structure. What's up, brother? Yeah. How you doing this morning?
I got it working. We're ready.
Nice.
Ready to go.
So we're just talking about kind of the early kind of formation of the company, and I was telling the people that, you know, I went to the Secretary of the State's office, and, you know, I registered all 3 of us, and, you know, we wanted to show from the very beginning that the paperwork that we were created by these 3 people, and that it was always, because my biggest concern early on was the perception of it was going to be, this is a Grade and Square project. Right. And I didn't want people to think that, as much as, I appreciate people identify with me and all that. I wanted people to know, like, hey, this is a project that, you know, 3 people are putting together, and without one of these pieces, this wouldn't work.
Right.
And I think that was I think that was the biggest thing I wanted to make sure I dispelled early on when we created this, because I didn't want it to just say, oh, this is a Grade and Square company or something like that. I wanted to show that this was something that was formed, obviously, within GU, but was its own separate identity that was created simply because we wanted to do something unique. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel it is unique. Like, recently I have been doing a lot more networking with other smaller comic book companies like us, like ourselves. People just starting up. Some people that was doing it a little before us, and I'm looking at their process, right? And what it does for me is helps me to appreciate our process, because some of the ways these other people are doing it, they're going through some serious hurdles that we didn't have to go through.
Yeah, because it goes back to the starting from zero. We had an audience, and we had an audience who were skilled at doing things. And so when you talk about the one-stop shop solutions for a lot of people out there, ultimately we wanted to focus on the things that made us really, really good at what we did, and outsource all the other things that we don't really specialize in.
Right.
So if there was somebody who within the community who could do logo creation, or somebody within the community who was familiar in this or that was outside of our purview, then we were looking at that. And that's what justified us not having to go to a one-stop shop publishing shop, as opposed to them having to do that because they didn't have the other resources, or it was going to cost them too much money resourcefully in order to pull that off.
Yeah, I definitely was on my Thanos fine, we'll do it ourselves. I was definitely on that. And I don't know, I know the process, I've learned a lot. I'm still learning a lot about the process of all of this, but it's just really interesting to me to see how other people do it. Now, I know Struck has been involved with numerous other projects over the years. And from your experience, Struck, is this the situation we're in? Is it unique in comparison to those other experiences?
I think it's quite unique. We have a completely different product. It's definitely a higher quality level initially, and we already have really good support, and I feel like we're going about it the right way.
Nice. Because I know most of the time, what would you say was the norm? Was it typically the norm when these companies start up for them to do a crowdfunding thing that had a campaign where it's a beginning and end and all of that, or to do the Patreon thing?
Most I've seen is crowdfunding. Pretty much people will set themselves up for, like, I'm working on this one project. Here's 5 pages. Give me money and I'll get it done. And that's about it. Patreon's kind of newer, and some people are trying it, but just haven't seen as many people on the platform. Yeah,
and the few that we have seen, there's someone there that are actually kicking ass. We've seen fairly recently with Black Sands. I'm not sure what they started with. I'm not sure if they started with a Kickstarter.
I almost feel like we see kind of the results of Black Sand, but we didn't get a chance to see a lot of it because I found out about it way later. I know that was our influence as far as business model wise, but we found out about that when they were already at 20,000 fucking people.
They were already at 20,000 patrons. So again, like I said, I don't know how they started theirs from the beginning, whether they got a loan or anything like that, but I do know that the few that I've seen on Patreon that are attempting to do this, there are a couple of them that are really kicking ass, and then there are those that aren't quite there yet, but they already have a product out. They already have had maybe 2 or 3 issues out, and so they may be funding it with a different platform to get the initial stuff out, and then just start a Patreon.
Yeah, it's like any industry where you have people that rise to the top, and that everything kind of sorts itself out in that way.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. That's what it seems like to me. So I wanted to I didn't want to go into too much detail because I hate the whole spoilery aspect of that. And we're about to in a few weeks drop issue 0 But I gotta say, how about that issue 1?
Hey, it's coming along real nice. Action packed, development of the story, development of the characters. You know, I feel like, and I'll speak briefly on it. Even though the cover, I feel like the cover is more of a cover for the series than the issue 0 itself, which is totally fine, right?
Yeah.
But I also feel like in issue 1, we start to expanding on the characters of the cover, and we start basically seeing the more intricacies of just beyond E.L. Gray and Malik, the Lord of Entropy.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's where the world opens up. But
it opens
to me,
up, right?
When I show people that issue 0, when I pull it up and I'm like, this is what I'm working on, like, whoa, this is that initial. You know, I'm not going to call it bait, but that initial, piece that they sink their teeth in, it's like, I got to get some more of that. I don't know where you're selling that, but I'm trying to get some more of that.
Right. I get a lot of that actually. When I share the cover art and maybe some character art or whatever, I get a lot of that. Yo, where can we buy this? Where can we buy this? So that's encouraging. That's encouraging as hell. And for me, issue 1 has that same effect. Like, so we still in the early stages of it, but the amount of just expansive events that take place that's going to shape the story going forward. Like, these are big events that's going to take place in this book, and that's why I can't wait. If you think the events of issue 0 was like, you wait till you guys see issue 1.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And full disclosure, right? And I'll say this as a novice story writer and comic book creator, I am learning how to write and tell comic book stories, right? I'll fully admit that I didn't know the first thing about writing a comic or telling a comic book story. I come from a TV science fiction place, so in my head, things are structured in that way.
Right.
Wait till we're in about issue 8 to 10, and we've actually mainlined our pipeline so that we can tell stories in the way that we want to, as efficiently as we want to. Let me tell you something. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. Right now, we're still learning how to do this, and I feel like we're doing it at a high level. Right. So give us a couple of years doing this shit, and I feel like the level of storytelling and the quality and efficiency of release is just going to be out of this world.
It's going to be crazy because we'll start off with like maybe 4 issues this year, and it'll jump up. The more efficient we get at it, the more we, like you said, get the pipeline in place where bam, 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 issue. Bam,
yeah.
Bam,
I feel like it sets us up. Honestly, it should set us up. Those, let's say, 4 issues should set us up for that 5th kind of payoff, end of story, arc 1 build up kind of finale, and we can kind of build into that, pay that off, and then go into our 2nd arc. Because what people don't know is the story arc of the first story arc is we already know.
Yeah, they're mapped out. We know where we're going with that. Yeah,
we already know we're going with that. We're actually working on the 2nd and the 3rd story arc.
Right.
So we have a lot of stories that are already established that we're just kind of building our way to. So it's not like we're making this up as we go along, even though it seems like we're making it up.
Well, all I know is
a
high level, because I know when people, like, for instance, when they hear the back stories and profiles of the characters, they're going, whoa, you guys have really detailed. Yeah, we have really detailed because we wanted these worlds to feel like real worlds. We wanted you to, when you dive in, you should feel like this stuff is ancient. A lot of stuff has been going on before you even came along. This stuff was going on. That's kind of how we wanted it to feel.
Right. Absolutely. So also, just from the business perspective of this and how it relates to the story and everything, we talked about protection of IP, and we talked about, the whole NFT piracy market and stuff like that. But what I think is interesting is we have the ability to be unique in our merchandise because we can design our merchandise from the ground up.
Right.
So if people have ideas about things that they want, like I would love a Lord Entropy. Well, first of all, I would love a Gray of Extropia robe tunic, because as people can see, I'm wearing a Star Wars robe that I found at Walmart that I had to get. It's crazy. It's got like a little lightsaber, stitched in and everything. Yeah, it's crazy. And you know me, I'm not a Star Wars fan at all. I had to get this. It was like $10. So I was thinking like, yo, what if we had like a Gray of Extropia tunic robe? A Lord Entropy Celestial Armor pajama set.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Workout gear.
Workout gear.
Rash guard. I'm telling you, the rash guard.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy. And like say we had the ability to do that. Oh, this is something else I saw too. So in that group, that comic creators group, somebody uploaded a video of their board game for their comic. Gotta say first, let me give credit for them. That's dope that they got that up. I think I like ours better though. I think I like our idea better.
I definitely want to get into the board game aspect. And Struck, you probably know a lot more about this, can speak on this more than I can. But we've been actually designing the board game, the tabletop RPG for Extropy and Entropy. I don't know what we're gonna call it yet, but I mean we're just calling it the tabletop RPG.
Right.
And we're developing the board, the pieces, the rule set, and all of that stuff should translate into our ability to turn it digital. I mean, if we do it right, it shouldn't be that much of a leap. So stay tuned.
From digital and then to print. So yeah, that's all the same assets.
Yep. And the logic should be the same, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, just physical pieces versus tokens inside the computer. So, and then transferring it to like an app as well. That's definitely an option.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy. Imagine that just on the app. Not only can they read the books, listen to the music, but they can play the game.
Right.
That's crazy.
Here's something I was thinking about. I didn't think about this from a game perspective, but you can kind of gamify stuff like this. But we were going to do the card set, and we were going to have those sort of those kind of Marvel type cards where our characters are explained in a short paragraph and their qualities. Maybe there's an attribute sliding scale or something that's going on or something like that. I want to do something like that because those type of, I have a one for Deep Space Nine. I still haven't opened.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I won't even touch it. I won't even look at it. In fact, if I die, you can open them up and then put them in my casket, like one at a time. Exactly. There you go.
Look, that's
RoboCop.
RoboCop.
Yeah. This one's a gift for the guy, but yeah.
That's crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we have to have something like that. Come on, we have to have something like that. Come on.
Oh, well, we will. We will. I like the cards. So.
Imagine the Zilliff card.
Let me tell you something. Imagine the Eldritch card.
Ooh, where the sliders are all the way up. They are all the way up.
I got a couple of ideas for that, but I can't say anything because it would be spoiler related.
Yeah.
That would be a very interesting thing to design.
That would be crazy. That would be.
I'm sorry, Tombstone. Continue. All right.
No, but we definitely got to have that, bro. We definitely have to have that because as a kid, Marvel and DC, they would come up with these books, and one of these days we're gonna have this. We're gonna have enough characters that the guys people are already introduced to and everything like that. They would come up with these encyclopedia type books that would have the characters. Like I think I still have a couple of those in here.
If any two of us was going to have those books, it'd be you and Struck. I could have put money on that.
I have not only do I have the ones that deal with the regular basic roster of characters, but I have one that focuses on the mythological gods that are in there as well. So yeah, it has like the breakdown of individual gods the gods that matter, and then of the groups. Like so, you have of course, the Asgardians as a group are going to have their basic stats as a species and blah, blah, blah. But then they focus in on Odin, Loki, Thor, the characters that we are most familiar with that gets basically used the most. And then other characters, for instance, other god pantheons, they won't give you the breakdown on individual ones, anything further than what they're the god of. but they'll give you the history of the Pantheon itself.
Like, so no full page spreads of like Hercules or.
Oh no, Hercules has a full page because they've used him. He's been an Avenger, so they have him in there. But I'll give you an example. I think they've only used Shango, the Yoruba god of thunder, a couple of times. So he doesn't have a full page spread, but his Pantheon does, and he's in a group pick with the rest of his Pantheon. Same with the Sumerian gods. They've rarely used them in Marvel. They used them before, but that's a long time ago. So none of those guys are getting any kind of full page spread. It'll just be the group picture of them, and then their history and what issues they appeared in, and they'll move on. We're gonna have enough characters and a species and stuff like that at some point to be able to come up with an E&E encyclopedia, and that's gonna be fire. That's gonna be fire.
No, I agree. Here's a topic I'm sure you guys wanted to pick apart, which is the size of issues themselves. So we were talking I was on a live stream, and there was about 40 people in there, and I asked everybody who had subscribed, I said, what are you guys interested in as it pertains to the size of the comic? Are you guys interested in much more of a larger size or something more traditional? And I thought people were going to say larger size, but to my surprise, everybody talked about having the traditional comic book size. So what do you guys think about what everybody else thought about the structure? I'll start with you. What do you think about the idea of traditional size over, let's say, a larger jumbo size?
I think the traditional size, so it can be in stores, it can be right next to all the others, and that's kind of what people are used to. I think that'll be the primary. We did have a sample of that bigger size, and actually I like that for more of an artist edition, and maybe we can see about adding more content to something like that, and it'll be more of a piece of art on its own. So
I like that.
I like that too. What
about you, Malik? What's going on?
Well, it's like I said earlier in the show, my first experience with comic books was not digital. It was the book in hand. And it's something about that you grow accustomed to, that size. When I think of the larger ones, I think of magazines.
How much bigger of it was it than the regular? How much bigger of it is it? It's a difference. You can definitely, it's a substantial difference. And it reminds me of almost like some of those coloring books back in the day, that type of size. And I'm struck with the whole we could use a bigger size like that for like a art thing, right? Oh, okay.
That would be dope with that. But I think with the comic book, we wanted the regulation size.
So regular size, and then I'm assuming the other one. So you can see the trim borders right here. Because that's the size of the files, because they always shrink it down. So this is standard comic book board,
right?
But it has the trim inside, so it's about 10 by 15 versus this, which is like, I don't know, 7 something, that 10 something.
Yeah, and you notice how he has that book in the plastic with the cardboard backing piece on there. Like finding that size is going to be fairly easy for them to find that.
Standard,
it's standard. Where we produce a bigger book, it's going to be a little bit more work for them to find the baggies, to be able to seal their thing up and collect it. So
I agree with that. I also thought that even if we did choose, let's say, a larger size for, let's say, issue 0, the subsequent issues would still
have been regulation.
So we might as well just not have to go back and reprint at a normal size, just print at a normal size, and then create an artist version. I do love that, having a larger artist version and keeping having more content in there,
more pages,
sketches, explanations, stuff like that, and then we can
interviews, like literally we could have us in there talking about our process and all of that. All of that would be dope.
And we can describe the music process and the writing process and the art process, all that. We have more. I mean, we're able to provide more content because we have a wider variety of what we're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. What I was thinking about is that as well is there any way we can leverage the art for videos that we're doing the music for? So if we do Extra P and Entropy music, can we, let's say, do videos in the form of the art? I think that'd be really
Wow, that
interesting.
would be
Yeah,
sick.
that would
That
be
would be
sick.
sick.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we would do that, but because I mean, short of just full animation, then
Right. But even from a motion comic standpoint,
that'd be ill, right?
It would be ill. It would basically, I think it would be us creating something specifically for the song, right? So the panels and all of that stuff would be kind of linked to the actual music, and then when we put it together and take from that art and place it strategically into the music video, it would fit what we're saying. I kind of do a version of that when I do the Majestic Moments. I take art that I think is relevant to what I'm talking about, use it for B-roll and kind of dress it up. I may have the flames in the background, drag that opacity down a little bit, and then put a zoom on the character or the panel, have that zooming in and zooming out, some text going across the screen. It's the same general concept. Using the artwork to paint the picture of what you're saying in either your narration or in the rap itself. So that should not be that difficult to do.
Yeah. I've been writing a lot of Gray of Extropia type rhymes lately.
Same.
In fact, it's like I have to balance that from the stuff that I'm finishing the album with, because I feel like it's leaking in there, and that's totally fine. It's done that before, but it's just like, damn, I didn't realize how once I'm in that mode, it's hard to get out of it.
Nah, for real, because I know I've written at least 3 or 4 things from the Lord Entropy perspective in the last 2 days. So
I heard one. It's crazy.
Yeah, I did.
That one about the hammer, explaining
history
the
of the hammer.
History of the hammer. I want to do one history of the hyperstaff.
Got to.
Yeah,
you got to.
That's way sick.
It's going to be crazy. Just to have these stories as we write them, they're literally, one thing literally feeds the other, because as we write the stories and we come up with the issues, they're going to be ideas from songs that we're going to get from these stories. So it's going to feed the music too. It's dope. It's mad dope.
I do want to update one aspect, which is the original shirts that we had ordered.
Yes.
So I have spoken to the manufacturer, and since that was put on ships during the holiday shipping,
and COVID,
block,
and
we're basically within the final couple week stretch. I expect them actually this week coming up. So if anything happens with that, we'll figure it out. But I just want to keep everybody in the loop on that. We're still waiting on it, and basically it's on a ship still trying to either get in to port on the East Coast, or has already reached port and is being shipped to the United States. So as soon as we get them, you guys will get them.
That's it. I actually didn't want to have to I could go on forever with this, except for I can't, because for those of you who've been listening to my podcast and everything like that, Black Culture Geeks, already there is no furnace working in this house. So today,
you have no heat.
No heat. So, but today that's what we putting the furnace in, and these guys are about to come in a minute. So, I'm gonna go and handle that. But we really just wanted to give you guys the update on things, how the company is moving. Thanks to you guys, the company is moving pretty damn well. All right. So definitely wanted to be transparent with you guys about all the things that we're doing. Is there anything else that you're trying to put out there? Great. 420 by 420.
420 by 420. Don't forget to subscribe, number one. Number two, I'm doing a live show for all the patrons on 422 to celebrate the 420 by 420. So don't forget about that as well. And join the Patreon if you haven't already. Oh, also, we're going to be doing streams from the Majestic Comics YouTube page.
Absolutely.
I think going forward, we talked about that. So,
absolutely.
Same. Yeah. Supporting, but then also if you know people that'd be interested, or you can share it in groups. Everybody can share any of our content on like Facebook and stuff like that. Absolutely. And just get it in front of more eyes, and that way we can keep working and we can produce more stuff. And that helps things along. Yeah.
Absolutely. So once again, we want to thank you guys for everything you've done. And we'll just keep diving in. And when you guys get this story, man, we're just going to be so like crazy to hear your opinion of it. And
next show, we should be announcing a date, right? As far as release date.
Yep.
All right, cool. So we'll have a release date for you guys by next show.
All right, now.
All right.
Everybody take it easy, and we'll holler at you guys later. Peace.